This is the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. I declare the court open. This is a hearing of the Judicial Commission into Human Trafficking and Child Sex Abuse. Kevin Burnor is the witness who's going to present his evidence. I'll ask Kevin if he could take the oath. Do you have a copy of that before you, Kevin?
Yes, I have. Yes. I, Kevin James Burnor, solemnly affirm by all that is sacred and righteous that my testimony here is given freely and without coercion, and is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Mr. Burnor, we really would like to hear your story, your experience in what has been done to you. I specifically avoid saying what happened to you, because that's not the right terminology. They did things to you. So let's start by using the right words and the right sentences. What did they do to you? Go ahead, tell your story.
Okay. Thank you. First, I'd like to thank you all for being here, and for the role that you played in helping me, actually. I also thank God that we're all coming together, and I thank Carrie and David for helping me, because I am at the place where I can't do things for myself. Okay. So that's being said, I want to read you a description of mind control. It's from an attorney in Sacramento, California. She's a target as well. Mind control described. Here is a description from victims of the United States, although one hears of victims from all over the world. This description has symptoms common to most victims 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for years on end. The victims are subjected to all kinds of harassment and torture. Most agree that this technology can target and remotely control every nerve in the body. The heart rate can accelerate and delay. Bowel movements can be regulated. The diseases can be made to come and go in a moment. Victims report hearing voices in the head and experiencing microwave-induced sleep deprivation. Now, these are all me, so just people around the victim can immediately repeat verbatim the thoughts of the victim. Dreams are manipulated, behaviors controlled, emotions literally played with, and all types of pain can be started and stopped in any part of the body. Remote sexual manipulation and abuse with these themes of pedophilia, homosexuality, and degradation are reported regularly. Microwave burns are reported frequently, along with all types of strange and harassing manipulation of electrical equipment, telephones, cars, TVs, computers. The black intelligence tactics of slashing bags, thefts, and mail tampering are reported. Holograms are projected in the mind. That's very, very important to say, because I have daily the world to deal with, but then I have the chips to deal with, and that's dealing with holograms, because I be placed in that situation. So that's important. According to victims, it's vicious, immoral, sadistic, and cruel. Most victims describe the experience as very difficult to compare to mental rape, imprisonment, and is the total destruction of their quality of life. Most are labeled mentally ill and live with financial ruin, loss of health, social life, and career. All say the technology is very sophisticated and effective as a weapon. It's like slow death. It's actually hell on earth, is what it is. Yeah. I thought I'd start by showing you the first chip that I was awake when they put it in. It's, can I see? Okay. Okay. Um, the chip is right here. It's probably not easy for you to see. It's in the roof of my mouth,
Yes.
and it's a
I
brain
can,
control
I can
device.
see the picture is coming through quite clearly on my screen. Yes.
Okay, chips 2. Okay. Now this rendering is showing that this is from the ceiling down, and my brain should be like that, but these here are because the chip is transmitting.
Why do they put
Can you
it
see?
there? Why do they put it there? Exactly
I
there?
have no idea, but they right here.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
I
know.
I have
You
no
have no
idea.
idea why they put it there.
No,
No.
I don't.
Mhm.
Then this is the first chip I had removed.
A little higher, please.
There you
Yes.
go. That's the first chip I had removed, and it's at a magnification. And what they said, they used this chip to be able to um, get an idea of what they are. And what they are is a bodysuit of chips. And that's what's done. There are 19 chips still remaining.
In
So,
your body, there are 19 chips. Did I understand this
yes,
right?
right now, correct. 19 chips. Okay. She said that they were from DOD and DARPA. Let's see. Now let me give you a little about my upbringing.
Okay.
I was from Massachusetts, and I was a super achiever from the start. I left home in 1972 at 15 to go to Florida. I still had to finish school. However, I found the school settings tedious and intolerable and decided to test out. I took the SAT, GED, and intelligence tests and went to college, skipping 3 years of high school. I used my community college transcript in Mass to get into Leicester Junior College. Even without applying myself, I stayed on the dean's list. I didn't read books or wrote papers from summaries. At around 17 years old, I graduated from college with the associate's degree 6 months after my high school graduated from high school. My goal was a master's degree. In order to pay for ongoing education, I joined the military as a clerk typist so I could go to school in the evenings. I did 29 credits in the second year to finish my bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology with a 4.0 grade average. I was on the bootstrap program. I then applied for commission as an officer, desiring a social actions position, but all that was available was pilot or navigator. Because of my eyesight, I was not pilot material, so I became a navigator on B-52 bombers. They knew I had ADD, and that long flights of 16 hours or more would be torture for one so afflicted. It seems that I was being set up at the beginning to fail. In the course of my advanced military training, I went to various survival schools for a month at a time, including escape and evade and prison survival training. In the escape and evade, I was the first to reach the goal. During prison survival training, were tasked to passively overthrow the prison. As the chaplain, I was the only one free to talk to anyone. I organized the group to act sick on my signal, which resulted in our success in bringing down the prison system and the exercise. Because of my performance and my quick grasp of the Chinese language, I learned to speak in 3 months. I was asked to join intelligence, for which I had no interest. The first request came in 1977, but there were numerous other attempts. The last request was in 1982, after overthrowing the prison, when I emphatically refused, pointing out that I really didn't like cops and I had nothing to do with them. To be aggressive, their inability to control the dialogue and to persuade me to join them left me no neutral position. Like a woman's burn, intelligence was not pleased. Before the last flight I was to take for certification for the B-52 Navigator, God told me not to get on the flight. I went to the chaplain who told my boss that God told me not to get on the flight. My boss angrily said, he told me to go to my boss. My boss angrily said, the military doesn't need people like you. I was told to meet Colonel Martin and Colonel Morgan, whose job it was to talk me into getting on the flight. Instead, I ministered salvation to one and the return of God to the other, but still maintained God's instruction to me to not get on the flight. The flight crashed and all 9 people on board perished. You can find this in the newspapers of December 1992. The flight crashed and they were killed. Fortunately,
You were supposed to be on that plane.
Yes, fortunately, I had led the 2 guys that died to the Lord before, 2 weeks before. Okay, so, hallelujah. I was honorably discharged on 20 May 1983 from the military as a result of this incident. They fined me $10,000 and threw me out, and it was illegal. I have evidence of my honorable discharge, each one from my non-commissioned enlistment period and one from my commission period. Can you see?
Okay.
Hallelujah.
What was the reason for your discharge, Kevin? Officially.
Was for marginal performance. It was a marginal performance because I did not get on that plane. Substandard performance. There's no substandard performance. I was really good at everything I did all the time. Hallelujah. I launched a campaign to stay in the military as this action against me was illegal. I obtained letters from over 30 military brass on my behalf, but to no avail. I was in a top school, so that all the people who were brass and colonels and blah, 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 and they all wanted me to stay. I got a lawyer after my honorable discharge who addressed the matter by appealing the discharge, but received no response. This is typical of the deep state. In hindsight, I was chipped during my time in the military. For instance, now I have an issue with a fiduciary, and he never answers my calls and deals with my paperwork. With my military career behind me, I pursued studies at Central Bible College in Missouri, which I finished 2 years of studies in one and was nominated for Who's Who in Colleges, Universities in 1994 for maintaining a 4.0 grade average with that heavy load. Then went to Assemblies of God Theological Seminary of Missouri for a master's degree in pastoral counseling, which I completed in July of 1987. I was married in January 17, 1980, to another enlistee who left the military in preparation for the birth of our first child, who was born on January 16, 1981. Altogether, we had 5 children and one miscarriage in a 15-year marriage. After seminary, we moved to California, where we expected our mixed marriage to be better received, and settled in the Sacramento area. It was here that I worked with clients in mental health under the supervision of the superior for 3,000 hours and simultaneously received 2 years in the church under pastoral supervision. In 1989, I opened my own church, Restoration Ministries, under Isaiah 61 Ministries in Sacramento, California. I was senior pastor of the church of my ministry, and we opened our doors to other independent ministries, only that they asked that they tithe our gifts for the gifts received. The other 3 ministries that used our facilities were a counseling ministry, a healing ministry, and a child dance ministry. In total, there were approximately 240 people that were ministered to per week. I had my own counseling ministry to make the bread and butter. We had one-to-one counseling and groups, survivors of sexual abuse, addictions, abuse, road less traveled groups, and I also provide training to lay counselors. In August 1994, a prophet came to my door and prophesied that I would go through a hot fire, one harder than I'd ever experienced, and that God would keep my family, though, through the testing period. I prayed about the prophecy, and God told me it was true. I told the congregation on Sunday, and on the following Saturday at 11 a.m., after receiving a drink from my 4-year-old son, I experienced an intense energy pattern coming at me horizontal and vertical. And when the energies converged and hit my pineal gland, I was stopped, literally incapacitated. A little background on my family would be helpful at this point. My wife was wonderful. She was a wonderful woman, wife, mother, who gave me such joy. She was resourceful, energetic, and pleasure. Proverbs 31 comes to mind when I think of her. We had 4 children together, and we're done until God spoke to me that we were to have a 5th. I bargained with God and said to him, he would have to speak the same message to her. When I approached her with God's message regarding the 5th baby, she excused herself to retrieve her journal, wherein 2 weeks previously she had written that very thing, that God, but told God that I would have to speak it to her. Our 5th child was born on January 11, 1993. My wife homeschooled our children, raised sheep, goats, chickens, spun yarn of wool. She was always doing something. This was me, totally positive, joyful, and a fulfilling life. Then in 1992, all hell broke loose. And literally, I had a disgruntled client who called all the counseling agencies in the city to slander me, calling me a cult leader, among other things. Not able to accept the counsel he was given, he chose to retaliate. When he went to Dr. Phil after seeing me in my counseling practice, he got the same advice. During a prayer meeting, a woman presented as a serpent writhing on the floor. This is a strange thing. She had snake eyes and claimed to be hot even though she was cold to the touch. As the pastor, I was tasked to deal with the situation. Having some limited experience with demons, I was unsure what to do. Having recently read a book by Miss Wigglesworth, in which he claimed to have ousted demons punching the victim in the stomach, I said to her that did not want to punch her, but asked if I could instead sit on her stomach. She agreed. While there, an attendee of the meeting attacked her. Yeah, I chased them off and cried to the Lord and said, I don't know what to do. Immediately, a peace and calm came over the woman and she was delivered. And it was amazing, beautiful. However, this event became a point of contention with people, which prompted me to call a church meeting. I invited ministers from our other churches to counsel me and hold an open forum for all who wanted to attend. The woman sued me after being influenced by those who did not see the event, as we both initially perceived it, because she walked in the deliverance. I know it. And the lawyers agreed to $15,000 settlement, and she left the church along with half of my client base and had church members. Unfortunately, my wife sided with those and perceived me as a cult leader, stopped attending church, and took my children out of children's church, resulting in a schism in our home. Although I continued to minister as before, she was no longer receptive. This is likely what laid the groundwork for their allegedly spiking the drink in 1994. 3 years later, I laid in bed, unable to function, and praying for God to heal me. In 1997, one of my clients who had taken my course and become a counselor came to my bed claiming she had studied rapid eye treatment. She asked if she could work with me for several treatments. The first treatment, I was in bed and in my pajamas. The second treatment, I was in my pajamas, but went to her house for the treatment. The third treatment, the third week, I went again to her house in my pajamas, but drove myself. The fourth week, I was fully dressed and drove myself to her house, an indication of progress being made. During the fourth treatment, now I didn't get treated from 1994 to this 1997, and suggested that I might have brain damage. She set up an appointment with the Amen Clinic, a treatment mode using SPECT imaging. They diagnosed me with post-encephalitis with multiple comorbid symptomology to include depression, blah, blah, blah. Dr. Louis Van Osdale III made it very clear that the diagnosis was medical, as though he knew something that I didn't know. As it turns out, he did. But when I ran out of money, I had to resort to the VA for care, and the VA was quick to interpret the diagnosis as psychiatric, and it wasn't long. Dr. Van Osdale was no longer at the Amen Clinic. I was on a 4 times therapeutic dose of amphetamine per day under his care. Immediately upon transfer to the VA, they claimed they could not give me that dosage. I went to an attorney who talked them into giving me the medicine I needed, and they complied. In 1998, I was tested by neuropsychologist James Moses at Palo Alto VA Center in Palo Alto, California. He tested me for verbal skills, visual skills, and allegedly my kinesthetic skills. I tested at top 1% global world intelligence, top 7% global visual skills, and only 79 in the Wechsler scale for kinesthetic, which is 1 point less than moron. Yeah, he didn't actually test me for kinesthetic. The results were fabricated. That resulted in my record showing I was retarded. My efforts to correct the record were met with denials that I had the right to do so, even though I did. I went to vocational rehabilitation twice in order to rehabilitate myself, but was denied due to the falsified record pertaining to the kinesthetic skills. On March 10th, 2004, a meeting of my caregivers, wife, and other conspirators convened without me, after which they presented me with a settlement that they had agreed upon. The VA continued to access me medically through various means. In May 2004, I got a message from the doctor that I needed colonoscopy. During the colonoscopy, I woke up in intense pain resulting from microchips being seared to my colon. The pain was excruciating. During the same procedure, they put microchips in my ears and one in the roof of my mouth. My apparent initiation to being chipped came the day I got home from the surgery, where I saw through remote visual synthetic means, the hologram, my care provider rape children and force me to watch. The experience was so horrific that I threatened to take my lethal dozen pills if they didn't stop, but they didn't. Let's spit out the pills. They claimed they didn't do the surgery and refused to provide me with the medical records. So I went to the office of the administrator and obtained a copy of the x-ray of the colonoscopy, which shows the presence of foreign implants. They refused to release x-rays of the ears, the mouth, and the mouth. The assistant administrator who released the x-ray to me received an early retirement. In July 2004, I went back to the Aikman clinic where I was re-examined. Sure enough, the chips showed up. That's the one I just showed you, the one, yeah? The back office worker at an Amen clinic told me that they identified a chip in the roof of my mouth. However, the doctor denied it. As soon as I obtained the image showing the chip, I left the doctor's office and went to a motel just outside San Francisco with plans to leave for Boston early the next day. I hadn't seen my family in a while and wanted someone to know what was happening to me, as I had been isolated from them for the past 10 years. I was gang stalked at the motel, loud banging stopping through the chip mechanism at 4 a.m. in an effort to get me up and out. I didn't comply but stayed in the hotel until 9 o'clock in the morning. Then I went to the airport where I was refused to be sold a ticket. So I called a friend, Sally, who purchased the ticket for me. Then in the bar at the airport, about 30 people suddenly imposed themselves on me, letting me know they were there without directly engaging me. This was frightening, even though I am not one prone to being fearful. These individuals flew the plane with me to Boston. As I got on the bus in Boston, several of them continued to stalk me, including a black woman with red hair and green eyes using a walking stick. I decided to engage her with a question that would reveal whether she was familiar with the area or just part of a traveling group. Do you know how to get to the bus station? I asked her. She didn't know, yet she found it and joined me on the ride out of Boston. I stayed with my sister and Colleen in Spencer, Mass., a rural community, and thought I would provide me with some relief from the stalking. But as I observed, there was an AWACS over my head. Hallelujah. Hold on. AWACS over my head. My thought to myself was, who am I that I warrant such expensive surveillance? Then the same black woman with red hair and green eyes using a walking stick showed up along with the rest of the gang of 30 within 15 minutes of my arriving at an otherwise empty thrift shop. I decided to confront her. I stood behind her and said, I want to see your boss in the parking lot in 15 minutes. I'm sick of this shit. My sister ushered me out of the store and we went on our way. Notably, it was the last time I was gang stalked. They never gang stalked me again. On June 5th, 2005, they introduced the Caesar. On June 6th, the next day, I experienced the same thing, and I was immobilized. Three men whom I knew, they were my care providers, and took me into the waiting ambulance. An attendant in the ambulance gave me a sedative and knocked me out. The next thing I knew, I was back at home, and it was June 10th, and my tongue was cut into 4 pieces, and my anus was lubricated. And I immediately went right back to the hospital where they said I attempted suicide. I was taken to a civilian hospital where they noted there was no evidence of a suicide attempt, and that there was evidence of horrific things happening to me. Upon return home, they proceeded to show me the video clip of what they had done to me during the 4 missing days. They tortured me to death twice and resuscitated me. They fried my brain. They raped me. They tied a chain around my tongue to induce my signing a consent form, which I didn't, resulting in the tongue being cut in 4 pieces. They cut my medicine to 120 instead of 160, forcing me to find medicine on the streets. I refused to succumb to that pressure because I didn't want to become a drug addict. On the 9th of October 2005, they told me I was going to go to prison or to a nut house. I went immediately to a liquidator to sell my stuff. Got a deposit for my car of $4,000. And on the 11th, I introduced the liquidator to the property manager to handle my affairs. And then I left for Puerto Rico. Before I landed, the fiduciary took all my money out of my account, leaving me with only the cash deposit from the sale of my car. I never saw that $1,400 again. I left with just 2 changes of clothes and the Amen Clinic scans, intending to prove that I was chipped and to demand an investigation regarding both chips and the illicitly assigned fiduciary. I refused to leave Puerto Rico office of prosecutor until they gave me a paper stating that I had an investigation pending. When I noted around March 20, 2006, that they were dragging their feet on the investigation, I confronted them, and they admit that they were not going to help me. I was considered a national security risk, and furthermore, the advocate was fearful for his family if he continued to assist me. On March 31st, 2006, my niece Jessica died. So I returned to Massachusetts for a birthday. Actually, it's one day before her birthday. Yeah, it's for her burial. I talked to my niece Carrie, who referred to me to a support group for targeted individuals. There was a conference in Washington, D.C. from June 14th to 6th to protest the use of chips. I gave my testimony on them all. I went to a sister TI from Ohio who was living on the streets to able to assist her to get back into her home temporarily until she could make it to Hawaii. I left then for Venezuela to seek an audience with Chavez in order to tell my story. I first went to police intelligence, where they detained me while personnel from the U.S. came. The one who came to interrogate me out to be my military supervisor from 1979 in New Mexico. Coincidence? I don't think so. Subsequently, I met with Venezuelan military intelligence who stole my records. I next met with Chavez's attorney, but I was blacklisted from getting my story told through any means. All formal offices refused to help me, so I went to the churches to tell the story. The man who aided me in this effort was shot, killed, and put in the trunk of his car. From Venezuela, I began to travel extensively with the idea that enough visas from different places would provide evidence that I didn't need fiduciary to handle my financial affairs, which I didn't. I did so successfully on 2/3 of what I should have received. 1/3 being withheld by the fiduciary without my consent and still has withheld it. My travels took me to every South American country except Paraguay, every Central American country except Guatemala, El Salvador, and Belize, every country in Southeast Asia and Israel. I returned to the United States with my package. These are my visas. All of these are my visas. 10 years of visas. Yeah? I'm sorry. I just, yeah. I returned to the United States after celebrating in Israel the electoral win of Donald Trump with a bunch of people who thought Hillary would prevail. I was so glad when I woke up and Satan is not president of the United States. I returned to the United States after celebrating Israel. From 2016 and present, I proved to the VA, with the aid of Carrie, my niece, and her network, because they helped me out with everything, that I have been deemed competent to handle my own affairs. Where is it? Right here. Let's see what we decided. You are competent. You see it. We decided. Oh, you are competent. Right there. Right there. They have yet to acknowledge me to pay me back. They owe me $194,000. From 2016 until present, I approved the VA and on my own affairs as my fiduciary. However, there's yet to be accounting. In April 2017, I under the expert care of Dr. Susan Cole, who successfully removed chips, 3 chips, which were being maintained in chain custody storage for evidence. Carrie was present for that event. Yeah, that was the first chip that I had removed. Okay? In July 2018, I underwent a scan using Oscar RF spectrum analyzer on a nonlinear junction detector, which pinpoints the many places in my body where foreign materials are still out there. As the picture with the dots that has 19 chips. I have suffered 3 strokes, which have affected my ability to function normally. Yet I firmly believe that God has preserved me and allowed me to press on in order to assist other veterans. I am can function, but this is happening to people and they're hurting them and they're taking the money and they need help and they can't get up and they can't even talk. So I wish that someone would look at that. That's the end.
Thank you, Kevin. That was very courageous of you.
You're welcome.
I've noted a lot of questions, but maybe Sir John or Dr. Nancy has questions for you first.
Yes. And
Okay.
is Bishop Rea still connected? I can't see him on the screen.
Can't see me either.
I am there.
So, yes,
Hello?
Bishop Rea,
Can
do
you
you
see
have
me?
any questions that you would like to ask?
Me? Oh,
No, just asking Bishop Rea if he's if
Well,
LinkedIn. Oh yes,
Okay, there you go.
I have, first, let me say that thank you, Kevin, for being ready to share your story with us. I mean, it requires a lot of guts. I know it's painful as you try to share it in the manner you did.
thank you.
One question that, first, two questions in fact. What church denomination were you part when you
I
were
was, before I started my own church, I was from the Assemblies of God. Assemblies of God. And,
Yes. And my second question, are you chip free now, or you suspect that some chips are still left in your body?
I am not free by any means. I go through the exact torture that I described to you every single day.
And if you were to sum up, who are
I have 19 chips left in me.
still?
Yes. Yes. I still have the same symptomology. Everything is still the same. Although my attitude is good because I know something's good. Something's going on. Yeah, in God.
But were you not able to see to it that they be removed, or medically speaking, it's difficult?
Yeah, nobody will acknowledge chips in the first place. So I had the one removed. She was a kinesthesiologist. So she found them with touch, and she removed them. But now she has not been able to do anything to help clients, TIs.
Are you still a security
So
threat?
I got 3 removed. But
Kevin, are you still, in their opinion, a
Yes.
security threat to the public?
yes, yes, not to the public, to them.
To them?
Yeah, to them, not to the public. I'm not doing. I serve the public.
Why do you think they are afraid? Do you know more than you should have
What?
been informed?
Listen, now that they've been torturing me, and of course they're a threat. They're doing against the law things. They're torturing me daily.
How? How, Kevin? How do they torture you daily now?
Because of the chips, they are activated by satellite. You know, activated by the cell towers. Yeah. So.
And what does that do to your body and your mind? You can feel it?
Yes, of course. The first thing is when I wake up in the morning, I have to get into the Word, the Bible, and read until I feel kind of pushed out, you know. And I do everything. I do everything like a
Robot. No?
Yeah, like a proof. Yeah, I get up, routine. I get up, I read my Bible, I make my bed, and be sure to make my bed, yeah, without it wrinkles, just so I could have the centering experience of making the bed. And then I take my medicine, and I have to do it in order because otherwise I won't get it done. And then I take my shower, and then I, I can rest for a little while. And then so that when I rest, I pray, and I pray, and I pray, and I pray. Because there's no time for being lax when you're tortured constantly. Yeah.
But you said there were 9 chips implanted in your body,
9.
and they removed
No,
3 of them.
No, there are 19 in the,
19. Oh,
yes. And they
why
removed
don't
3.
they take them all out?
The woman who took them out got attacked, and now she can't help.
But there must be people out there that can take them out for you.
Where?
I hope
Nobody
they
even
come
deals with
forward.
What's that?
I hope they come forward when hearing your testimony, so that you
Really?
finally find peace.
Uh-huh. That's why I'm doing this, talking to you guys.
And do you
so that
think
can help.
that many, this is when you joined the army, right?
Air
You
Force.
started doing this when you joined the army. At what age? At what
Air
age?
Force, yes.
How old
20.
were you then?
20.
Mm-hmm. And how old are you now?
61.
60. 61.
61. Yeah.
Okay. Now they do they do it with all those young recruits or only a few?
I don't know. I can't. I would have to be them to know how they think, and I don't know how they think. I do know that they certainly are satanic.
Mm-hmm. And what is the purpose of implanting those chips? What is the purpose? What do they want to attain with it?
I think that it just payback that I didn't join them. I don't know. I can't think for them.
Isn't it an
Research.
experiment? Wouldn't
Well,
it be more like an experiment?
It is an experiment, but they don't call it an experiment because they have secrecy over calling it something else.
Sure.
Yeah.
May I ask,
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
are you allowed to travel outside the United States?
yes, I have been traveling for the last 10 years. Then I stopped in Israel and spent three months there. Then I came back, and then I went back and spent another 3 months. And now I just come back.
And all of this started when you didn't get on that plane?
Yes.
Yes, it actually started before then. They already were manipulating me without even the chips being in. They still were dealing with me before the flight crash.
Mm.
They're dealing with me. Let's see. Yeah, they can play with my emotions and play. So they made flying very difficult. Yeah, and that's God. When He said, "Don't get on that flight," I was glad because I didn't want to get on flight. Yeah.
Coming through security in Israel, sometimes it's quite a risk. I mean,
Yeah,
with so many
for me-
chips in your body. Well,
For me, it's very difficult. They stopped me in Boston. Yeah, not even in the. They got me in Boston because they have a good security, and they didn't deal with my chips, but they made sure that I had a return flight. And I don't travel with the return flights because I might want to go somewhere else while I'm there, like Amman or Jordan, Egypt. I might want to go, but they didn't let me. They said you have to have a flight back to Boston.
Yeah, that's,
So, but I,
are you still targeted? Do you fear that they might find a way to get rid of you?
well,
Are you
they could get rid of me. They could get rid of me anytime they want. All they have to do is push a button. So, yeah,
Why don't they do it then?
I don't know. You asked me things that I
Yeah,
did not
you don't know
know,
what
but
they're
I had
programmed.
some questions.
Yeah,
I could
that's
understand.
just a question.
Yep.
I
how much?
just,
One final question from me, Kevin.
Yes.
How much do you know from your military background?
How much do I know from my military
Yeah.
background? Yeah,
Yeah.
I know some stuff.
You know some stuff.
I know some stuff. Yeah, but I'm not dangerous. Everybody in my class knew that stuff. And also, it's like 30 years later or 40 years later now. Yeah, 40 years later now. So how could I know stuff, that was dangerous?
Right.
that would seem quite clear. I just have a question, Kevin. Is there any medical reason why the chips can't be removed?
Actually, yes. The chicks, if I could find someone to remove them, I would be glad to remove them.
Yeah,
But
there must be a physician.
there's nobody. Well, Susan Cole was Susan Cole was
who is capable
really courageous.
and willing to
Yeah, and they put her out of commission. So, as far as working with targets and taking out chips. But
Yes.
otherwise, I know nobody.
Right. With the
sound is very
documentation, sorry.
The sound is very bad. I hear parts of what you are saying and parts
Oh yeah,
gone.
yeah, but true. Here too.
Hmm. Go ahead, Sir John.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Kevin if we could have color copies of the documentation that he showed during.
Yes, you can.
That would
We'll
be
send them to Connie. Yeah, Connie.
We
yes.
have copies.
Oh, you've got copies.
You have documents, but I have some that you don't have. So any that I have that you don't have, I'll be sending to you.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be very helpful. Very, very helpful.
Okay.
And if we can do anything to suggest a physician in a hospital where you could have the chips removed, because if there's no medical reason why they can't be taken out, there must be a physician somewhere who could do it.
If you can find someone who would do it and would take them out, I would certainly be welcome. Yeah, I'd be certainly welcome.
Yeah, I think that's something that it's the least that we can do to see if we can suggest someone who could remove them.
Okay.
And in relation to your testimony, do you have any objection to it being available to the wider public? We've been recording
Yeah.
your.
Yes, please. You're welcome to anything. If it can help, if it can help anybody. Again, I consider you that maybe you can help with something, and if anything, look into the veterans that this is happening to. Yeah, I'm can talk and walk. They can't.
You're right.
Yes.
Do you think you were part of an experiment? Because if we're talking now
Yes,
from
yes,
over 40 years
but
ago,
it's not called an experiment. They get out
no,
of calling it an experiment. But sure, but listen, they use this stuff like it's not an experimental. They're using it like as a matter of weapon. Yeah, it's a weapon.
why 9 ships?
19.
19.
Why 19? Why not 1? As they do with
Well,
cats and dogs.
and
Is
then
it
add three that we're taking out, so it's 22. Now that was 22 is a very good one. You know what I mean for a number? It's the Lord. My God, why have you forsaken me? So why 22? Maybe.
But symbols are only workful when you start really believing them. So be careful with symbols. I know symbols are important, but
Yes.
and figures too. But it's only when you give it the way it doesn't deserve that it's gonna start influencing you. So refuse to accept this kind of pressure on you. Now you said that you
Yeah,
showed one. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, when he said, my God, why have thou forsaken me?" He was performing the crucifixion
Yes.
that led to the resurrection. So it does it's a negative, but it's positive.
Yes.
But you said you had one chip removed. You showed it on a picture. What is it like? Is how big is it? Because we saw some bloody thing
I'll show you.
on a tissue. What is it? Is it like a grain of rice or? Yeah, I see. Yeah, but what material is this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
in what material is it?
it's glass, it's steel, it's silicone, uh, and another few things. Yeah.
Yeah, you had it analyzed?
Yes, I had it analyzed. She said
Do you
that
have
it was part
documents
of
on it?
a full body. Yes, Connie has them, right? Yeah, Connie has.
So you know what the material is, and we can get it
Yes.
more analyzed to know what it is. If
Well,
it is a
it's
recorder or yeah,
Yes.
transmitter,
that's what the analysis got. That it's a full body suit.
a full body zoom.
Body suit.
I see. Uh-huh.
So is it like? Sorry, Corinne.
What's
No,
that?
it's a problem.
I was just going to ask you, is it like a computer chip?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, the one in the roof of my mouth was like the ID
Wow.
chip, you know, or RFID. It's about that big,
It's big.
That's a fair
like a
size.
rice.
Yeah.
And they use a big syringe, put it out there, without anything for pain. And also
And your
the
body
ear.
is not rejecting this. So it must be in a material that your body is accepting,
Well,
in fact.
in the material, they have polymers that protect you from your body. You know, protect your body having a response.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're wrapped in a polymer.
Did they give you LSD at the time?
No, no, but I was on 35 pills a day.
What
So-
for?
So they were drugging me. I was on amphetamines. I was on because I slept all the time. With 160 milligrams of amphetamines, I could get up 4 hours per day. Yeah. So
And what was this
And-
due to?
and then when you they treated me to balance the brain. So I took stuff to balance the basal ganglia, to balance the temporal lobes, and then they had to give me stuff so that I didn't go off balance with the stuff, you know. And it was 35 pills a day. And then I went to Puerto Rico to have an investigation, and I stopped. I stopped all their pills. All.
It's a bit like Mengele, experimenting on people. Sounds
Yes.
like Mengele in
Yes.
Nazi Germany.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Because now we are talking about 40 years ago.
Yeah.
These chips are not what chips are today, are they? That's why they are so
No.
big.
Yeah. Well,
Did they-
this chip for me was 2004 was the first one that I found them putting in. I had some like 1999. They put it says artifact in left pulmonary artery. Yeah.
You say they, who are they?
I have no idea. I just say them because it's they versus me.
But you were in a hospital or
'Cause,
something. I can't imagine somebody coming in my office and just injecting me with
Well,
a
actually, I
chip.
stayed at my own home. I stayed at my own house, and I got to the hospital, and then I would stay at the hometown, like it's a hostel, yeah. And I believe they accessed me there.
So each time you were unconscious when they injected you with a chip.
Yeah,
You are not aware of it.
right. This is the first one when it is in 2004. When during a colonoscopy, I was awake, and then they put it in my roof of my mouth and my ears, and they refused to acknowledge it even.
Hmm. It's strange
So
because
the X-ray of the one in the colon, they can have that because I was with a procedure for the colon, but the eyes, I mean the mouth and the ears, yeah, they didn't let me see. And I also have neuroradios on my eyes. I mean, not neuroradios, chips on my eyes. So, and actually, when you magnify the camera, you can even see them. Yeah.
it is very strange because some 20 years ago, I had two little boys who were awfully abused in high elite networks. And one of these little boys, it were twins, 2, 3 years old. And he said that they put something in his column, and that they said that we will always know where you are. Now I'm talking about children of 3 years old. And when he was 10, he started to have severe stomach pain, and they had to rush him to the hospital. The parents had to rush him to the hospital. And there they saw that he had some kind of a cancer in the colon at the age of 10. And the doctors were, they were very weird.
As you see here,
Yeah.
You see the yellow ones?
Yes.
And the red one? The yellow ones are breaking down and releasing toxins into my system, which eventually can end up in cancer. Yeah. So that's what is going on there.
Yeah, but the strange thing is that apparently medical people are somehow involved. I couldn't fathom it 20 years ago, but they had to remove it. And when the mother asked what it was, because she knew her children had been abused in very high places.
Excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom. This is one of the symptoms.
Okay.
That's fine.
Khalid,
Yes.
Khalid,
Yes.
ask him if he still has the chips that they removed from his body.
I think he said one, but I'm not sure.
Whatever, even one.
It's
Does
very
he
important.
still have it?
I think it. I will ask it.
You
I will
ask
ask
this, ask
Yes.
him.
I'm gonna
And
ask.
this might lead us somewhere. Living where I am. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I do.
Hello?
I do. It's
You
very
hear me? We're often informed of chips being injected in bodies of prisoners, so that they will find out what they say. They will find out where they are. But those we call they are security threat to the state, to Israel, etc., etc. I still remember a few years ago when they spoke of wanting to put a chip in every human being.
Yes, I know.
You remember the story of is it the chicken?
Guinea pigs.
Yeah, the guinea pigs. Yeah, and it was a medical doctor from Sweden. We were on one of those biblical visits to sites in Turkey, and he said never allow them to give you this injection because they wanted it's as small as a hair.
Right.
People can't see it, but they wanted to do it to every human being in the world. And this was, I don't know when, 5-6 years ago, if I remember.
Yeah, but they succeeded in Spain because they sold it as for the youngsters, as it's much easier to go to a dancing. You know, you just go with your pulse. You do this and you go in. So they sell it. They always sell it with a lie. It's for your good. It's easy for you, you know. But they know exactly what you're doing, and you don't know what they are doing to you.
Exactly.
And we don't know what the result will be in 10 years. Maybe everybody will be full of cancer. So these are experiments.
Exactly.
What they do to Kevin.
And they call it an investigation in order to keep their language, because by calling it an investigation, it has certain protections. So human experimentation, they're violating the laws, but investigating,
Yeah.
you know, that spot in breaking laws. They're making my quality of living horrendous
I can
for
imagine.
26 years now.
Yeah,
Huh?
I can imagine. And let's be honest about it. The Second World War never ended. It never ended. It had just went underground. There are
Yes.
experiments on people. We have to be honest about this.
Paperclip. Yeah.
I'm going to take a moment.
Project Paperclip.
I want to take a moment to thank you, Kevin, for coming and giving your testimony. I know it was really difficult, and really, really appreciate you coming to the ITNJ and allowing us to have your story. Sir John, would you like to end the session? And then if there's any further questions down the line, if you think of anything else, we can convene again with Kevin. And
Yes.
I just had one question, Connie. I wanted absolutely to ask to Kevin. Kevin, do you have one chip that we can have investigated?
One chip?
Yeah, because do you have one in real, not on paper? On
Right.
paper. Do you have one? You said you had it in security.
It's in a chain of evidence. It's in the chain of evidence being held there.
But you can't reach it. You can't get it, can you?
I don't think so.
Why not?
I can get it from the chain of evidence, but I don't know.
I think it would be very, very helpful for us to actually have the physical chip.
Yeah.
It would be very, very helpful because we could test examination of the chip.
Okay, so if she can take one out, and I guess she would have to get with you how to transport it, and you know what I mean.
Will you take contact with the bishop?
Yes.
He can help you further, but you need this evidence to give it to him.
Yes, it would be helpful. It would certainly help the commission of inquiry to have.
Okay, so look into sending one to you.
Yes, could.
I'll send it
or you could send it to Connie. Yes, it would be very, very helpful for us to have that. That we have an examination as to what it is, and it will help track things down. So what I'll do is, if you could, Kevin, if you could send that to.
I'll look into it.
Would be helpful.
And I'll see about money.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be helpful. I'll close the session now, unless anyone has any further questions. Bishop Ria, do you have anything further you want to?
No, I want to only thank him, but also promise to check with a medical team. You know, we have similar experiences as a result of the ongoing conflict and the lack of confidence one in another. I'll check about the possibility of removing those chips, or how best they can detect them and for what use. I know there are enough now people with that kind of knowledge, which I know very little, but I know some of us have been targeted and have been followed for a number of years. And we notice this in our cars when they take it for security checkup. They don't allow you to go with the car, so you don't know what happens. But not yet on my body, but others did share similar stories. But that has to do with security as a result of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East.
Yes. Good.
That would be
good.
fantastic if we could realize this, if the bishop is able to realize this, to help this man get rid of these ships, and to have the proof
Yes.
that what he is saying
Yes.
is credible. Absolutely, very important. Okay.
Good.
So I want to thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you, Corinne. Well, I'd like to. Yes. What
Yes.
I'll do is I'll officially close this hearing, and Kevin, if you could get that material to us, that would be very, very, very helpful. And I'd like to thank all members of the team, and I'd like to thank those who actually stayed up very late, Corinne and Bishop Maria, and I think
Oh,
the
is it?
time in the United States might be more. But thank you. We'll close now, and we'll reconvene for further hearings as the year goes on. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Kevin, thank you.
On
You're brave.
behalf of all of us, thank you so much, Kevin. God bless you, and you've been
Thank you
through
very much.
and God bless you. You're so strong. Stay strong with us. We're with you.